Hello and welcome to a very special program. I'm Vishnu Shom. I'm on the deck of INS Vikrant, India's first made-in-India aircraft carrier, designed and developed by the Indian Navy and constructed by the Cochin shipyard. I'm in Kochi now, and in just a couple of months from now, when the first fighter aircraft come hammering down on this deck and the ship gets ready for all operations, India will have a genuine force multiplier, something that can take on the increasing challenge or the threat of the Chinese Navy, or for that matter, the Pakistani Navy operating in the Indian Ocean region. The Navy, for its part, is absolutely clear. One ship of this class, not enough. India needs 3 at the very least. Will the government sanction that? Will India eventually get larger aircraft carriers, given what we see from adversary navies? That's a larger question that's still not been answered. But for today, red letter day for the Indian Navy, INS Vikrant, part of the fleet.
At a time when India faces more threats along our maritime frontiers than perhaps ever before, this ship is a symbol of defiance, a platform that is meant to assert India's maritime interests across the Indian Ocean region. Not only is it by far and away the largest surface combatant built in India, it is also the most sophisticated. And once Vikrant completes her trials, she'll be made a mobile airfield, capable of asserting a no-fly zone around her for several hundred kilometers. She'll be at the center of an Indian carrier battle group, surrounded by her escort destroyers, frigates and submarines, the most formidable maritime force for power projection that India has ever mustered. This was the original Vikrant, which fought in the 1971 war. Her fighters were French-made Alizés and British Seahawks. "25 years after Vikrant was decommissioned and we were on the deck of the old carrier when that happened, India has a new Vikrant with the same historic pennant number R11.
I must really actually salute our predecessors who actually planned the growth of the Navy. And the requirement of 3 aircraft carriers appears in the first plan of the force-level structuring of the Indian Navy post-independence. There is no doubt in my mind that we require 3 aircraft carriers, 1 on each seaboard, the west and the east, with the 3rd aircraft, if not available, under maintenance. And it would necessarily be required to protect our maritime interest in the vast expanses of the Indian Ocean region, which span almost about 27 million square nautical miles.
This will be the Vikrant's cutting edge, its MiG-29K fighter jets. In fact, Vikrant has been designed keeping this aircraft in mind. India bought a total of 45 MiG-29Ks from Russia between 2004 and 2010. These already fly off the deck of INS Vikramaditya. The only other aircraft carrier India has in service. Once the MiGs clear sea trials, which will begin in a few months, they'll also serve on board Vikrant.
So this is what it's all about. Fighter aircraft like the MiG-29K that you see behind me. This is going to be the primary fighter, the only one at the moment deployed on board Vikrant. The MiG-29K has been in service with the Indian Navy for several years, including on the aircraft carrier Vikramaditya. In fact, several years back, I remember being in Zhukovsky outside Moscow, where the first prototype of the MiG-29K was actually rolled out. The Indian Navy has had a mixed experience with this fighter aircraft. Reliability has been a concern, something which has been asserted in Comptroller and Auditor General reports in the past. And there's also an effort to consider newer, more modern aircraft, for example, the Rafale or the F-18. But for that to actually become a deal process is an altogether different story. For now, as far as Vikrant is concerned, it is the MiG-29K which will remain its primary defensive and offensive fighter aircraft for all operations.
We are extremely excited and we are looking forward to it.
Meet the Captain Air on board Vikrant. He's in charge of all aviation operations, helicopters and aircraft from the deck of the aircraft carrier.
I am the head of the air department of the ship. So I look at all the organization on board the ship and the whole entire air department, including the squadron. So the MiG-29K lands on board the ship. The first thing is that the aircraft is very, very specifically designed. So it's not an Air Force aircraft that is just modified and you can put it on deck. It's a very, very specialized aircraft. The ship is moving. There are dynamics involved with that. The precision required is extremely high. Just to give you an example, an error of 1 meter causes a difference of about 15 meters in the landing point. And the error margin available is very, very small. We have to be within a few meters of the landing spot, otherwise we don't get a wire. So these are the things that make it extremely challenging, and especially on board this ship, the MiG-29K is a large aircraft. It has been designed by the Russians. It is quite challenging to land the aircraft on this deck. Night is a completely different ball game. It becomes much more exciting. You don't see anything until you get really in close. Even in close, you don't really see anything. One is looking at a light, the alignment of the aircraft with the ship, and his speed, and the landing just somehow happens. Nobody really understands how it really happens. So it's just an event which happens in between when all these things are going on. So we dominate quite a large area, and it is the same as all carriers around the world. We have different airspace classifications around the ship. There is a certain area wherein no one else is allowed. There is a certain other area that we dominate using our aircraft. There may be other aircraft in that area, for example, even civil airliners. We have a complete elaborate system to be able to classify them and not interfere with civil aircraft operations, whereas also maintain our dominance in the airspace above the sea.
Vikrant is a mobile city with 1,500 sailors and officers on board. Keeping it all together while ensuring that she is fighting fit to go to war if required is the job of this man, Commodore Vikrant, the commanding officer of the new ship.
When I was here a few months back, Vikrant had just gone for a first set of sea trials. Now, several months later, the ship is ready to be commissioned. Joining us, a very special guest, the commanding officer of Vikrant, Commodore Vikrant. Wonderful day ahead for you when the ship gets commissioned. The preparation over the last few months must be incredibly intense. Tell us about that.
Vishnu, as you would remember, last time you had come, that was the first sortie, and in a way that was a milestone that nobody had thought that we would be able to achieve. 22 plus touchdowns, achieving full power trial. From then we have come a long way. We have put through paces all the machinery to the extremes. We have seen trials where the ship did extreme maneuvers. All the systems, equipment have been put in through the various requirements of acceptance in varying sea conditions, temperatures and environmental conditions. And more or less, as you can see, that we have done 5 sea sorties of extended duration, more than 5 days each of them, and few extending more than 8 days. So that in itself speaks a lot of our preparedness with respect to the upcoming sorties and integration with the fleet that we intend to undertake.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. Of course, the red letter day will be when the first MiG-29 lands strapped on board Vikrant. But that process, there's a build-up to that process, and a lot of that has nothing to do with the aircraft. It's the ship, it's the various systems, and the teams that operate all of those systems.
Absolutely.
So is there a lot of training and ahead of that event?
Indeed, as you said, it's one step at a time. So while I said that the systems are in place, trials are in progress, these trials have to be juxtaposed with the aircrafts, helicopters in varying conditions of weather, day, night, wind speed on the deck, how many aircrafts at the same time that we can operate. At present, the wind envelopes are restricted, bare minimum. That will be expanded. So there's a paces that we go through. While that is happening concurrently, the ship's crew would be put through various training programs. External audits will be undertaken. We would go through written exams. We would go through drills, which would enable us to take in eventualities that may happen. Nothing would happen, I'm sure. But nonetheless, we have to be prepared. So this would be the build-up for the ultimate acid test of taking aircraft on deck.
You know, a ship is only as good as a crew, and now you've had several months to work together with a very large group of sailors and officers. Tell us a little bit about getting this team all together. I mean, that must be a huge challenge for you on a daily basis.
Oh, you touch my heart. The crew is very, very close to my heart. They are the best that could be brought in at this place. And if you recollect, from the first sailing itself, majority of systems were operated by my crew. And over a period of time, they have slowly got mastered it. One part is operating it, other part is maintaining it, and the third part is to undertake defect rectification. So we have come a long way from just operating to undertaking maintenance schedule to undertaking defect rectification. And today I can say with absolute confidence that the crew is completely charged up, ready and trained to operate this platform.
And for your family, it must be an incredible sight to see you as the first captain of this wonderful warship. What does it feel for your family, for you to be here leading all of these sailors and officers?
I would say that the adage goes, the wind behind the sail. And who is this wind? The families are these winds, and without them, a Navy sailor cannot be at sea. So their support, their steadfast support in fact, is critical for all of us to be at sea. So when we are at sea, the Navy has come of age, the systems are in place, but the family is an indissoluble component of the naval fraternity, and they are behind us in this endeavor.
Steel cutting for Vikrant, the first step towards manufacture of the ship, took place in 2005. Warship grade steel was indigenized by the Steel Authority of India. Hull fabrication began in 2009 and the ship was launched in August 2013. It's all come together now. The Vikrant is essentially complete, but for its complement of Israeli surface-to-air missiles, which will be installed next year along with its Israeli-designed primary radar, the MF Star.
Any warship in the world, a navigator, he pilots the ship in and out of harbor. He conducts the exercises. He looks after the operations of the ship. Per se, that is the major role of a navigator. I would say it is an honor and a responsibility which has been bestowed upon by the Navy to us. Our team has been working together for the safe navigation of the ship and for undertaking the tasks which have been assigned to us.
The Vikrant is 262 meters long, 62 meters wide. The warship displaces 43,000 tons when fully loaded. She can travel at a maximum speed of 28 knots or 51 kilometers per hour and has an endurance of 7,500 nautical miles or 13,890 kilometers. There are 2,200 compartments on board. The ship is designed to embark 30 aircraft, comprising of MiG-29K fighter jets, Kamov 31 helicopters and M860R multi-role helicopters recently acquired. State-of-the-art systems are installed, including this, a full-fledged medical complex with facilities for major surgeries. There's also a CT scanner, X-ray machines, isolation wards and telemedicine facilities. Well, this is where they have the CT scan facility of this warship. There's a full-fledged facility for operations. There are at least 5 doctors who are deployed at any one time. So this is a city, and a city needs doctors. Running a ship like this means being in charge of an electrical power station.
There's approximately 2,400 kilometers of cabling here, and if you are to count, if you are to find out as to how much that actually is, from Delhi to Kochi, if you see the air distance, that is 2,400 kilometers. So if you lay all the cable in a single line, probably from Delhi to Kochi you'll reach. I'm primarily responsible for the maintenance of power generation and distribution systems, the weapon systems and the sensors on board. We are lucky that almost 76% of our equipment are indigenous, which helps us a lot and which will help the ship a lot, the carrier a lot in the future, since we'll have in-house support, the maintenance support available within the country. Things like the communication suite, the power distribution system, lighting system are all indigenous, and we will have indigenous support in years to come.
Pankaj Sevas PORP, gangway. Pankaj Sevas PORP.
And this is where the 1,500 crew members of the ship are cooked their meals. This is an enormous task. Fresh fruit, meat, vegetables, everything has to be stocked as the Vikrant takes to the sea.
This galley is on the forward part. There's one more galley in the aft part and another galley on the second day. Now we prepare 4,000 to 5,000 meals per day.
Wow.
We have new equipment, chapati making machine, dosa making machine and combi steamers oven. So we generate 6,000 chapatis per meal by using these chapati making machines and 1,800 idlis by using their combi steamers.
Oh, that's amazing.
Per 1 hour.
Ensuring that all the crew works efficiently while the Vikrant is deployed on a variety of missions is the job of the Deputy Executive Officer.
This is essentially a township.
Right.
So the first requirement for the township is to run,
Right.
to make the essential things so
Right.
that we can be battle ready at all times.
Right.
So yes, I am the one who has been entrusted with coordinating
Right.
while the entire ship works together.
Right.
So I look after the planning part where we plan the events in advance so that we can deconflict
Right.
if there are too many important things are happening at the same time, so that we can ensure safety
Right.
at all times. The best of them has been handpicked
Right.
to be the part of this prestigious project,
Right.
which is the nation's dream.
Right.
So I've got the best crew that you can
Right.
think of.
Right.
So they are excellent. Secondly, this answers your discipline part. All are disciplined, but yes, it's a stress environment and there are tendencies at times when we have to deal with it, but then organizational measures are there. So we have a very self-disciplined, motivated and an inspired crew who is working together to make this ship the nation's dream as we
Yeah.
are working towards.
Significantly, the manufacture of Vikrant has spawned an industrial ecosystem that's generated employment opportunities for 15,000 employees in primary and secondary jobs. several major industrial houses have been involved in the Vikrant project, with more than 100 medium and small-scale enterprises also chipping in with component manufacture. All of this came together here at the Cochin shipyards. The indigenous content of the project is approximately 76%.
Vikrant is a true manifestation of India's quest for Atmanirbhar Bharat and the Make in India initiative. The total cost of the ship is almost about 19,500 crores, of which almost about 76% by way of equipment and services is entirely indigenous.
The crew of the Vikrant gets ready to serve the Navy at a time when India faces an expanding threat, the Chinese Navy. Growing faster than any other navy in the world, the Chinese Navy is on course to become the dominant force of its kind, and that's bad news for India. Earlier this month, a Chinese spy ship with the ability of tracking Indian ballistic missiles being tested and satellites docked in Sri Lanka's Hambantota port. While satellite images now clearly indicate that China's first overseas military base in Djibouti in the Horn of Africa is fully operational, with a large warship docked at the pier. For India to have the ability to take on the evolving threat means a national commitment to a fleet of carriers, 3 of them. With Vikrant, India will have 2, though the other carrier, the made in Russia INS Vikrant, has proven to be far less reliable than what the Navy had hoped for. With China having fast-tracked its carrier development program, India needs to build on the experience of Vikrant in order to construct even larger carriers to ensure that our maritime interests in the Indian Ocean are met, are secured. India has a coastline of about 7,500 kilometers, an exclusive economic zone of over 2 million square kilometers. In addition to island territories, over 97% of our national trade is carried by sea routes. India's economic growth is closely linked to keeping our trade routes open. Vikrant lies at the center of those plans.